In this case, I'm selling high on the Los Angeles Lakers. They are done. Point, full stop. And the Lakers, I think they'll beat the New Orleans Pelicans. More of my predictions later in the show. But after that, they're screwed. They are screwed. LeBron James, Etta James, Jesse James, Anthony Davis, Viola Davis, Reese Davis. It don't matter. Nuggets in 5. Denver is better in clutch games than the Lakers. No matter how you slice it, Denver's a better basketball team. This will be a quick series. Give me Denver in 5. I'm sorry. This is out of respect for the great LeBron James. I do not see the man losing 8 straight playoff games. I just, that's not a thing I can see in my head. This is going to be a quick series. Denver gets it done in 5. Listen, Denver's not going to win. What would that be? 12 straight games against the Lakers, but they'll win 12 of 13. They match up better against the Lakers. They had the best player in the series, best coach in the series, more reliable number 2 guy, won 8 straight times, the defending NBA champion. So, call me crazy, but I'm going to go against conventional wisdom from delusional Lakers fans. Nuggets in 5.
Worst case scenario, we're going to overtime. Jokic a screen, Murray to try to break the tie.
This is a sad day today. It really is. It's a hard one. Because today on Carving It Up Live, and I'm your host, Bryson Carver, we are going to be eulogizing the 2023-2024 Los Angeles Lakers. That's at least how we're going to start today's show/service, whatever you want to call it. Because the fact of the matter is this. The Los Angeles Lakers were many things. They were fun. They had drama. They had 2 healthy superstar basketball players by the name of LeBron James and Anthony Davis. They had a coach in Darvin Ham who no one really liked. Let's be honest. Nobody in LA really liked. A lot of articles have talked about that. The roster wasn't horribly put together like it was at the start of last season, but also not perfectly put together by any stretch of the imagination. And if there's one thing that I know, it is that 2 weeks ago, Lakers fans just absolutely clowned me for my absurd take that the Los Angeles Lakers, given how the play-in bracket had drawn for them, and given the fact that if they were to beat the New Orleans Pelicans, which they were going to do, they would face the Denver Nuggets in the first round. And I said they were DOA, dead on arrival, which is the very reason we're having this service today. I was lectured on that. Ripped about the fact that, oh, you said the Warriors were going to the conference finals. Listen, that was not a good take on my part. It was not. I've had better ones. Bad clock's right twice a day. But the good news is about today, that if there's one thing I know, the Golden State Warriors have reserved the Los Angeles Lakers suite, place, whatever you want to call it, in Cancun. Oh, man. I was ridiculed. Lakers Twitter, those on YouTube who call themselves Lakers fans within the Grid Network. You should have listened. I was looking out for y'all Laker fans. Normally I would try and look out for you or really try and set you up for failure. No, I said, listen, it's the Denver Nuggets we're talking about. This is the defending champions going back-to-back titles, going for back-to-back titles. This does not completely soften the blow of the Golden State Warriors going out. But I must say, it is nice. It is quite nice today to be sitting here with the Los Angeles Lakers after their fans again. We're going to beat Denver. It's going to be different this year. More on that just a second, in particular about the Nuggets. More on LeBron and carving up the context in a half hour as it pertains to his future with the Lakers or with somebody else. He did just complete the greatest year 21 season we've seen in the NBA and the best year 21 we've seen in sports outside of the GOAT Tom Brady. We'll also be talking about Philadelphia and New York Game 5. Crazy ending. I'll tell you how the Knicks choked it more than the Sixers won it in about 10 minutes. Also, Bryce's best 10 teams Bryce's best 10 NFL teams after the NFL draft at the end of today's show, why the Clippers are actually better off without Kawhi Leonard coming back than if he does come back in the series that is tied 2 games apiece, tied at 2 games apiece with the Dallas Mavericks. Already got some comments. Looks like my sister Chloe. She's got is that a ukulele? No, it's a violin. It's a violin emoji. Yes, it is a very, excuse me, very emotional. No, it's not emotional at all. It's a very happy day. Patrick Brown. Oh, see, Patrick, I have nothing to say. Barry, get your brother. No. Barry can't save you today, Patrick. LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Anthony Davis, Viola Davis, Reese Davis. Didn't matter. Nuggets in 5, which I called from the beginning. But first, everything that could have went the Lakers' way, absent a Denver Nuggets key player missing a game or more due to injury, occurred. Everything went their way. LeBron James, excellent throughout and was awesome in the fourth quarter of this series. Shot 57% in the fourth quarter of these 5 basketball games against Denver. Anthony Davis, I'm not even gonna put the Gene Hackman gif. I'm not gonna do it. I cannot call him Coin Flip Davis. Matter of fact, I'm that close to retiring the nickname because not only was he great and consistent all season long, unlike he was a year ago, 5 games of playoffs against the best player in the world, Jokic. Not only did he hold his own, some games he was better than Jokic. AD was great. D'Angelo Russell, who was garbage in games 1 and 3, was excellent by his standards in game 2, pretty good in game 4, wasn't efficient, the other night in game 5, but did make some shots down the stretch to keep the Lakers in it, gave him an opportunity to win that basketball game. Well, you knew Darvin Ham was a bad coach coming into the series, so that can't be an excuse. We knew that coming into the series. Lack of adjustments. We just learned in an article by Shams Charania for The Athletic, guy had no respect from anybody in the locker room because he was terrible at relaying his message, connecting with players. More on that a little later in the show. On the Denver side, Jamal Murray was incredibly inefficient. He was amazing last year in the conference finals and was really good. Good some games, really good other games, but was never great outside of the fourth quarters of games 2 and 5. Jokic, listen, I know Jokic in game 5 dropped like 25, 20, and 9, which is crazy. I thought Jokic was really, really good. Like, again, by Jokic's standards, that's a 2-time league MVP and a finals MVP, best player in basketball. That's fine. I thought he was way better in last year's Western Conference Finals. Nuggets won the series in 5 games. For the reasons that I said they would win the series in 5 games before the 5-game series began. The Nuggets had the best player in the series, the best coach in the series, the clutchest, outside LeBron, fourth quarter performer in the series, at least more clutch, more recently guy in the postseason in Jamal Murray. They have championship experience and pedigree more so, not that the Lakers don't have it because they won 4 years ago, more so than the Los Angeles Lakers did. They had home court coming into the series. They won 8 straight. There was a point in time when they won 11 straight, and they've now won 12 of their last 13 games against the LA Lakers. And somehow I was to believe that this thing was going to be a deep series that we talked about for years to come, like some Lakers fans try to convince me. Denver, who I thought played their B game, they weren't bad. I mean, listen, you don't win a series in 5 games if you're bad, obviously. They weren't average. They were good. I mean, they played their B, sometimes B-plus game. There was not a moment outside of the third quarter of game 1, fourth quarter of game 2 of this series where I was like, my gosh, Denver can't be stopped. Like, the Lakers have no answers. It was close throughout, just like last year. But Denver was better late in games because they had the best player on the floor at all times and certainly the clutch performer in this series in Jamal Murray. And they had the better coach in the series who was willing to make adjustments. Denver winning the series was nothing short of a formality if they were healthy. And by the way, something else with the Lakers' way, they win game 4, extend the series to a game 5. Jamal Murray, who'd been their kryptonite, still is, has a bad calf and is, I talked about it on Monday's show, questionable coming into this basketball game. Drops 32, has his best game of the series. So everything that could have went the Lakers' way went the Lakers' way. Be outside of a Denver player missing action due to injury. Darvin Ham was bad already. You already knew that from last year and from this year. That was a foregone conclusion. So for the Denver Nuggets, here's where I'm at. They should be. Some sportsbooks have the Celtics as the favorite because the East is weak. Some sportsbooks have the Nuggets as the favorite because they dispatched a very good Lakers team in 5 games, second year in a row that they've either swept or gentlemen swept the Lakers. And again, they're the defending champions with the best player in basketball. I'm here to tell you right now, if healthy, they should be the overwhelming favorites to win the NBA championship. If you look at the teams that are left, okay, let's look at the Western Conference for a second, okay? They're the 2 seed. The 1 seed Thunder, really good, took care of the Pelicans like that, swept them. But they're the youngest team in NBA history to win a playoff series. Their average age is like 23 years old. Bunch of kids on that team. I love SGA. Dagnall's a great coach. Love the supporting cast. Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, whole bit. They're young. Denver's not. They're smack dab in the middle of their prime. You look at the Minnesota Timberwolves. Ant Edwards, talked about him the other day. My gosh, the guy is truly, truly coming into his own in this playoff series. We are seeing the rise, certainly of a star. We already knew that, but maybe into a superstar as these playoffs wear on. We'll see how it plays out, given how he plays against the champions. But I still don't care how that series played out against a soft big in Nurkic. I don't trust Rudy Gobert in a 7-game series in the playoffs. Again, Minnesota's bench and outside of Naz Reid. You look down the list. Look down the list of the other playoff teams, okay? So Phoenix is out. Lakers are out. Pelicans are out. What? That leaves the Clippers and the Mavs. Well, the Clippers have Kawhi hurt. They have some flaws as it pertains to Harden late in series, Westbrook late in series. And Dallas, well, I think they're the second best team in the West, even over Minnesota. Luka hasn't been great in the playoffs. Kyrie, we'll see. Can he stay healthy? Is he going to be a liability in the defensive end? Out east, Boston is awesome. They just can't win playoff series at home. They're under 500 in the last. If you look at the last 3 postseasons, we're very early into this one. This including the last 3, including this one. Boston's under 500 at home. And Porzingis just got injured in Game 4 against Miami. You look down the list. You look at the Orlando Magic, offensively flawed. Cleveland, offensively flawed. Okay, you look at the Knicks, really good, but you saw what happened last night. They can blow games. Philadelphia, their best player, cannot close in the 4th quarter. More on that game in just a few minutes. You just look across the Eastern Conference. Miami, without their best player. I mean, we can just keep going on and on and on and on. The fact of the matter is that, Milwaukee, without their best 2 players. Denver should be the odds-on favorite to win the championship today in any sports book you look. FanDuel, BetMGM, anybody. Best player in any series they play. Unless they play the Miami Heat, which newsflash, that ain't happening. They're going to have the best coach in every series. Again, unless they play the Clippers and Ty Lue, but the only way that happens is in the conference finals. I don't think the Clippers are getting past this series, much less the second round. So the best coach in every series in all likelihood, the best player in every series, without a question. Jamal Murray's the 4th quarter performer that he is. They'll have home court unless they play OKC, in which series I don't think will hold a ton of value. Or if against Boston, in which case the Celtics, in a weird way, have a home court disadvantage. If the Denver Nuggets are healthy, they should be the odds-on favorite to win the NBA championship. It's not because their roster is just stacked beyond stacked like the 17 Warriors or the 96 Bulls, 01 Lakers, the 81, 83 Philadelphia 76ers. I think it was 1983. 69 Lakers, like whoever you throw it. It's not that they're that kind of roster. Jokic is an all-time great. Jamal Murray is a championship away. Chris Broussard said it the other day, and I'm totally with him. Jamal Murray's a title away, despite not bringing an all-star at all at any point in his career. He's a championship away from probably being a Hall of Famer because of the contributions he would have made to back-to-back titles. And Michael Malone's a great coach, and they've got shooters, and they've got good wing depth. This is how you build a roster. Now, again, Nikola Jokic's don't just come every draft. It just doesn't happen. But the fact is this. When you have a guy of that caliber with a team perfectly built around him, you can be really special. You can be champions last year, and to me, absolutely, positively, the favorites to win the NBA championship this year. Denver Nuggets, congratulations. It feels weird saying congratulations on a first-round series, but given how much hype, and I talked about it at length on this show over the last couple of weeks, but given how much it was discussed, props to the Denver Nuggets. Patrick Brown in the comments, smoked. Oh, wow, that's harsh. Smoked ham. And he's got the the tearful, not the tearful emojis, but the just the flabbergasted emojis, I guess is what you could call them. Yeah, listen, again, everybody, all the LeBron haters out there, they kill me, I swear. Oh, LeBron lost the first round. What, kind of like how Michael Jordan did, not once, not twice, but 3 times to start his career. That's beside the point. But the whole, Darvin Ham's a scapegoat. Oh, poor Darvin Ham. He just, we gotta blame LeBron's coach, right? Yeah, listen. I think if you inserted Eric Spoelstra, the series goes 7 probably, because Spo's the best coach in the league. If you get Steve Kerr, or you get Michael Malone, or you get Ty Lue, some of the best coaches in the league, it goes longer, but Denver would be the better team. Anyway, you slice it, for the reasons I mentioned. So, the Darvin Ham thing, listen, I've been on this since last year's playoffs. I remember a game 1 vividly against my Golden State Warriors. I remember this game, and it's a series the Warriors lost. And as a matter of fact, it's the most recent 7-game series the Warriors have played. Got to wait till 2025, obviously, hopefully. But the Lakers in game 1 in Golden State, the Warriors had just come off a grueling 7-game series against the Kings. Steph had just dropped 50, so he was, he'd emptied the tank in that game to make sure that they advanced. So he didn't play as well in game 1. None of the Warriors did. The Lakers had some rest, came in, dominated, not just say dominated, outplayed the Warriors through 3.5 quarters of that basketball game. And then finally, I'm watching this game as a Warriors fan, obviously pulling for my team. Steph starts to get going. Clay starts to get going. Jordan Poole, that feels like a long time since we talked about him as a relevant player. He starts to make shots. Like the Warriors are starting to get it going. They're getting stops. All of a sudden, it's a 14-0 run. The game's tied. Ham never called timeout in that stretch. I mean, I'm watching this game. I've got a buddy of mine who's a big Lakers fan. I remember watching that game. And he's texting me, rage texting me, why isn't Ham calling timeout? It was unbelievable. And the Lakers were able to prevail because D'Lo made a shot, LeBron hit a free throw, and Jordan Poole bricked a 3 to tie the game. It was that moment. I'd always had skepticism, questions, but I'm like, okay, he didn't get it. He can't handle the moment. The lack of adjustments in this series, when Aaron Gordon is put on Anthony Davis, which is a great adjustment by Michael Malone in game 2 to combat the LeBron AD 2-man game, Ham didn't adjust. But not to mention, as bad as that is, Mike Budenholzer, who happened, by the way, Ham happens to come from the Budenholzer coaching tree. Mike Budenholzer is the ultimate don't make adjustments guy. I think the Bucks liked him. Mike Budenholzer seems like a nice, not Darvin Ham's not a nice guy, but Mike Budenholzer seemed to be liked within the Bucks locker room, respected in the Bucks locker room by Giannis and Middleton and Drew Holiday and Brook Lopez, everybody else. You read an article by Shams, The Athletic. They couldn't stand this guy. Anthony Davis publicly after game 2 talking about, hey, we're something like we're not prepared in the series, and then Darvin Ham comes back at media availability the next day. I'm going to have to disagree with that statement by AD. Like, bro, you've lost the locker. You can lose games. Cannot lose a locker room. Steve Kerr, who took the saying from Greg Popovich, because Steve Kerr played under Greg Popovich, and it's such a true quote as it pertains to the NBA. The NBA, being a coach in the NBA is very, very different than what it is in the NFL. NFL, X's, O's, schemes. How do you get, do you have an advantage as it pertains to you knowing the rules better, i.e. this year's Super Bowl, than the other coach, whatever the case may be. NBA, that matters. X's and O's do matter. Out of timeout plays, your zone defense, all of that. But Steve Kerr, who repeated this phrase from Greg Popovich, is 1,000% right. 90% of being an NBA coach is being a people person. Being able to understand how different guys tick, how different guys, interact with each other, interact with you, what gets them ready to go on a night-to-night basis, on a random Wednesday night in January in Memphis. Like, what gets your guys going? Darvin Ham doesn't have that. He just doesn't. The great coaches do. Ty Lue, Spo, Kerr, Michael Malone. All the great coaches do. Dagnall in Oklahoma City. He's got a bunch of young guys. Connects with them very well. Mike Brown in Sacramento. It's pretty mind-boggling. But anybody who was shocked or is pointing fingers, not that you shouldn't point fingers because Ham's obviously not a good coach, but the idea that this was going to be a different outcome than last year when it's basically the same teams from a year ago in a series that, well, it was a close sweep. It was still a sweep. You couldn't get one. Now, congratulations, you got one this year because I said LeBron's not losing. I can't see a scenario in which LeBron loses 8 straight playoff games. I can't see that. Well, it didn't happen. He lost 7 straight, got the 1, played great in game 4, played really, really well in game 5, was great in the fourth quarter again. Wasn't able to pull through. Because Denver has the better basketball team. More on LeBron James in about 10 to 15 minutes on Carving Up the Context, our segment we do every Wednesday, when it comes to where he could play next season. Let's transition to the game last night. We have had, listen, a lot of first-round series, and we always love the first round of March Madness, the first round of the NFL playoffs, and the first round of the NBA, NBA, NFL, March Madness. We love the first, second rounds because there's all these games, and there's double headers, triple headers, 2 games going on at once, like all the craziness going on at the same time. The series haven't been quite as compelling as years past. Again, like Milwaukee's injured, there's the Clippers who are beat up. But some of the games individually in the Lakers-Nuggets series and then this Knicks-Sixers series have been awesome. So game 2 had the ending that it had, where, Brunson hits the crazy 3 that bounces a couple times before going in. They steal the ball from Maxey. There probably should have been a foul. There wasn't. They let them play the whole game, so at least they were consistent. DiVincenzo missed the 3. Hartenstein jumps over Embiid, grabs the rebound. DiVincenzo, round number 2 for the 3, knocks it down. Knicks win the game. Well, we saw a similar ending last night. So the New York Knicks, who have not clinched a playoff series at Madison Square Garden since 1999, that actually happened to be their most recent NBA Finals appearance. Obviously, with Ewing, they ended up losing to the Spurs in Tim Duncan's first championship that year. But the Knicks in this basketball game, up 3-1, opportunity to close the series out at MSG, had the game in hand. There's no two ways about it. They had the basketball game in hand. Because with 28 seconds left, the New York Knicks had a 6-point lead after Miles McBride, after the Sixers tried to press and trap Brunson. Miles McBride got an open mid-range jumper, knocked it down to make it a 6-point lead with basically 30 seconds left. And you got Patrick Ewing, who's excited. You got John Stewart. Shout out John Stewart. Love that guy. You got all the Knicks faithful. I didn't see Spike Lee last night. I don't know if he was at the game or not. You had Julianne Moore was at the game. They had, who else? People from Saturday Night Live. Tracy Morgan was at the game. All of Knicks faithful. And they're showing these camera shots of all these celebrities. It's like, they're about to advance. Like, this is about to be kind of a really cool moment for the Knicks, their fans, the celebrities, all that. And then Tyrese Maxey happens. And bad execution late game happens for the Knicks. So it is my least favorite question. And we've seemed to cut down on it because as we've thought about it, I think as a collective basketball public, it's a really dumb question. It's the worst question, I think, in the basketball media dictionary to ask. Hey, so-and-so. Hey, Jalen Brunson. Let's use Jalen Brunson as an example. Did you guys lose it or did the Sixers win it? I cannot tell you how much I hate that question. Yes, I get the intent. Yes, I understand what the reporter is trying to say. It's a dumb question. It is. To me, that question could, in theory, be proposed after this game. To me, the way to put it is the Knicks blew this game more than the Sixers took it. That's not to take credit. We're going to talk about Embiid in just a second because I've been hard on him all series long and throughout his career in the playoffs. The shot spike to Tyrese Maxey hit in a game where he dropped 46 points. By the way, he's the only player in Philadelphia 76ers history to drop that many points in an elimination game outside of Wilt Chamberlain. Pretty good company to be in. But the Knicks are up 6. Tyrese Maxey's taking the ball up left side of the floor. They get the pick and roll. Mitchell Robinson switches onto him. Okay, you're up 6. You're not up 3. The Knicks are up 6. If Tyrese Maxey hits a 3, okay, he hits a 3. Like, just, you're Mitchell Robinson. You're 6'10", 7 feet tall. You got big, long arms. Just get a hand up. If he makes it, he makes it. If he misses it, great. Of course, he jumped on the pump fake, bumped into Maxey. Maxey hit the shot, 4-point play, and now it's a 2-point game. Now the Knicks got to make their free throws, and Josh Hart clanked the first. So that's 2 instances where the Knicks blew it. The third, and I'm not one of those people that sees things in black and white in a lot of facets in sports, outside of sports. There are some things that I'm pretty darn close on as it pertains to coaching in this series, in this exact situation. So Josh Hart hits the second free throw. Knicks are up by 3. How much time's left on the clock? The Knicks have a 3-point lead with 15 seconds left. To me, in that situation, I don't care what. Foul the guy. Foul Maxey. Foul whoever's got the ball in their hands. Once they cross half court, which to the Knicks' credit, or Sixers' credit, Embiid set a great screen, freed up Maxey for the 3. I believe it was Embiid. Foul Maxey in the backcourt. You foul him, he gets his free throws. Do not let a guy, especially a guy who's been playing like that and shooting the lights out all night, don't let him get a shot to tie it. Don't let him get a 3-up. Send him to line. Worst case, he makes both free throws. I believe the Knicks had a timeout or 2 timeouts. Call timeout, advance to the front court, hit your free throws. And at that point, Philly probably has to take a half-court shot, which if it goes in, then kudos to them, which Maxey essentially kind of hit a half-court shot. You foul in that situation. Always. Under 20 seconds, up 3, foul every single time. Do not let them get a 3-up. I firmly believe in that philosophy. Now, Knicks players said after the game that message was there. It just wasn't conveyed really to all 5 guys on the floor. Then that's on the coach. And Thibodeau, Tom Thibodeau's done a fantastic job, that goes without saying, with the Knicks. Defensive guy. Again, I don't love that he plays his guys darn near the whole basketball game without any rest. To me, they're gassed by the time the playoffs roll around. Nonetheless, that's not good coaching. It's not good execution. And for that reason, Maxey hits the 2 threes. And Joel Embiid, by the way. Now this is where we give Philly credit. I have been, I think, far and away the most critical person of Joel Embiid in any space. TV, radio, podcasting, print, anything. As it pertains to his not just lackluster play, but absolute Houdini disappearing act in the fourth quarters of these massive playoff games. He did it in game 1. He did it in game 2. He did it in game 4. And he did it again last night. 2 points, 2 rebounds, no show, 1 for 4 from the field. But this is where we give credit. Maxey saves the Sixers season. You go to overtime. Embiid, we need you, big guy. We need you to show up and show out. And in a 5-minute period, he did. Let's show Embiid's fourth quarter stats to his overtime stats. Keep in mind, fourth quarter, he played 11 minutes. Fourth quarter, 2 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 block. No steals. Overtime, 4 points, 2 rebounds, an assist, a huge block on Jalen Brunson, and a steal. Embiid was excellent. Excellent in the overtime period, and so I give him credit for that. My thing for Joel Embiid is this, and people say, well, he's injured. He's got the Bell's palsy issue going on. He's got a bad knee. My thing is this, okay, am I doubting that's plaguing him? No. Matter of fact, I commend in the highest degree Joel Embiid for playing through what he's playing through with his face, with his knee, and I've done so in the past. Embiid's played through a lot of stuff in the postseason, which is part of the reason I say probably not the most reliable number 1 option on a team aspiring to win a championship. But nonetheless, kudos to him for going out there and playing. But my thing is, how is he, in this case, last night was not the case because Embiid did not play well throughout big chunks of that game. He did have a triple-double. His stats lie to you a little bit. Embiid didn't play that well until overtime. How do you play, game 5 aside, great, best play on the floor, better than Jalen Brunson, through 3 quarters and absolutely fall apart, become a perimeter player in the fourth quarter? Again, Joel Embiid, the first 4 games of this series, had a grand total of 2 fourth quarter rebounds. 7'2", MVP, 2 rebounds in the fourth quarter of the first 4 games rather. Had no rebounds for the first 2 games in the fourth quarter of play. You had Hart getting more rebounds. Hartenstein getting more boards than the reigning MVP, Joel Embiid. But he showed up. He showed out in overtime. And I got to admit to y'all, I said Knicks in 6 before the series. I'm going to, listen, pick integrity. I stick to my picks, okay? Your pick is your pick. I think the Knicks are going to win game 6. But I'm telling you right now, these are the kind of games, again, 3-1, it's only been done, I think, 14, 15 times in NBA history. Teams have come back from 3-1. It doesn't happen much. But these are the type of games that can really flip momentum. Not that the Knicks aren't the type of team that can bounce back from as gut-wrenching a loss as that was last night. Because they are. They're well coached. They got good, smart, veteran players. Brunson, Hart, DiVincenzo, those guys will be ready to go. Anunoby. But for Philadelphia, For Maxey, that was his. Listen, NBA fans like I've been a Tyrese Maxey fan for years, and he's a Kentucky guy. I'm a Vols fan, so it takes a lot for me to root for a Kentucky player. But Tyrese Maxey is an easy guy to root for. He's fun. He's energetic. I love his game. Love his clutch gene, as we saw last night. That was his. Okay, yeah, guys, I'm here. I am officially a star in the National Basketball Association. That was my moment. Embiid, his resume beyond the playoffs, outside the playoffs, speaks for itself. MVP, two-time scoring champ, who was awful in the fourth quarter of all 5 games of this series, but showed up big in overtime after his teammate bailed him and everybody out in the fourth quarter of that basketball game. Nick Nurse gives him some momentum. And for the Knicks, dealing with injuries, I think this is a potential situation where this could, let me put it this way, I'm sticking with my Knicks pick because I don't abandon picks. But if the Sixers come back from 3-1 this series, I will not be shocked. Because though it's not that they won Game 5. If they just won Game 5, won by 10, and Embiid was really good, and Max, how they won, what the things that I knew Maxey could do that. I didn't know if he could do. I didn't know he could score 7 in. I think it was 7. Yeah, in 17 seconds to keep the season alive. Didn't know he could do that. I knew he was a clutch player. Didn't think Embiid would do that in overtime, and he did on both ends of the floor. If that gives them the momentum, the belief, the confidence that can continue and be sustained over certainly one, but maybe 2 more games of the series, they could come back. Because they're absolutely more talented than the Knicks. But I picked the Knicks because, again, the momentum, winning 50 games, the MSG home court advantage. Jalen Brunson's had another awesome season. And it's been great in the series, by the way. Jalen Brunson was excellent. 40 piece last night, but didn't make great decisions in the overtime period. I'm telling you, this is a series that could get hairy. Watch out. Watch out. Sticking with the Knicks in 6, because it rhymes, it sounds good, and I believe it's going to happen. But nonetheless, watch out. If the Knicks lose, they got Game 7 at home with that great crowd. I get that. But let me tell you something. The crowd, the antsiness, to where it's a situation where we were 17 seconds away, up 6 from advancing. And we're in a Game 7 with the season on the line. The pressure will completely move to the New York Knicks. So there you go. Patrick, the disdain for Ham has taken a toll in LA. When guys throw jabs at Ham, it's obvious. I want a leader among men, a motivator, not a puppet. I don't even know if Ham's a puppet. I just think he's completely in over his head. I don't think he really has a good sense of the game, how it's going, how it's flowing. I mean, it got to a point in time, again, I've referenced that article by Shams in The Athletic a few times. I highly recommend people read it or check it out. There's a YouTube video, Lakers Nation, this YouTube channel made talking about the article and going through it. If you don't want to subscribe to the publication, that, Lakers players essentially ran the offense. If Ham wasn't, the Lakers players, LeBron and D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, like, F it, we'll run it. We'll run our own offense. And told other players and other teams as such, like, guys, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. We've got this. So there you go. Patrick, Maxey has turned into a playoff magician, heart and giving it all he's got. Unlike Sherman Clump Harden did a season ago. Well, yeah, that was one of the reasons I loved the Harden trade for Philadelphia. I thought they absolutely fleeced the Clippers. Is not just the cap space and all that it cleared and the guys that got in return, but the fact that now Maxey becomes their 2, and he's first of all, he's a better player than Harden. I'm sorry. Just wait, Clippers. Just wait. We saw it 4 games last year. First 4 games, he's killing Boston. Last 3 games, he was terrible. Just wait. But Maxey now is the number 2. That's, to me, all the more reason there's no excuse on Embiid. Because last year you could say, well, he had Doc Rivers and he had James Harden. Like, what do you want him to do? Doc Rivers is the king of blowing playoff leads. James Harden's the king of coming up small in the postseason. Like, to a degree, you could be like, some of it's on Harden, some of it's on Doc. Part of the reason I've been Harden or Embiid this year. Patrick, Maxey has arrived and deserves a max contract extension this summer, no question. Patrick also says Knicks fans took over Wells Fargo Arena where the Sixers play in Game 4. Let me tell you something. That's not happening again. That is the owner of the Knicks. I saw bought like 2,000 tickets to the game. And I love what he did with it too. I don't like giving Philadelphia sports props, but in this regard, absolutely, positively give them props. He's giving it to like first responders, like I think doctors, firefighters, so kudos, because I remember watching Game 4 Sunday afternoon, and I'm like, and being complained about after the game, which I didn't love. But I'm watching, I'm thinking, my God, this is MSG. This is literally MSG, but in Philly. Like, where are all the Sixers fans? So that they're going to make sure that doesn't happen again this time. And my guess is it won't be as much of a home court disadvantage for Philadelphia in Game 6 as it was in Game 4. But let me tell you, Game 6 is on. Is it tomorrow? Is it tomorrow? Yes, at 9 o'clock. Philadelphia Sixers are a 3.5-point favorite. Again, I'm going to stick with the Knicks because I said Knicks in 6. And I think they're the type of team that can bounce back from a heartbreaking loss like that. But, whoo, man, that's fun. By the way, how about not doing a segment on this? About to talk about LeBron and potential destinations. Did the Indiana Pacers not just squander one of the biggest opportunities of the playoffs? Now, I think they're going to win. I picked Pacers in 6, so this could fall into place for me as far as my prediction. The Pacers beat the Bucks 4 out of 5 times in the regular season. They match up better the whole 9. You cannot blow a game like that. Giannis is out. Dame's out. Like, you got to shut down the series. Now, to Chris Middleton's credit, not only has Chris Middleton had the best playoff series he's had since the 21 finals when the Bucks won the championship 3 years ago, I think his leadership has been tremendous. Because, again, Giannis to me is one of the 3 best players in the world. Dame's one of the top 12 best players in the world. Worst case, 15. Those 2 guys out, like, dead. I get you're at home, but you look dead in the water at home. You potentially might get gentlemen swept out of the playoffs again. But Indiana kind of leaves the door open, takes you for granted. Bobby Portis is a big game. Patrick Beverley did his thing as well. So, interesting. Thursday's going to be an interesting night of basketball. Bucks, Pacers, all the pressures on Indiana to take care of business, close it out. Don't let it get to a Game 7. And as far as the pressure for Knicks, Sixers, I still think the pressure's on Philly because, again, if the Knicks lose, hey, at least they got a Game 7. Philly loses, it is a wrap and another first-round exit for Philadelphia. Of course, I think that'd only be two first-round exits in the Embiid era. So there you go. Patrick, rumor has it, Giannis and Dame can play Game 6, but the scariest movie in sports is Doc Rivers. Pat Bev got under Obi Toppin's skin. You better believe it. I think the whole Bucks team got under the Pacers' skin. Which you got to win a game on heart grit. Doc Rivers is interesting. So, again, not doing a segment on this. First of all, I don't think Giannis is playing Game 6. I'd be very, very surprised if Dame plays. I don't think Giannis is playing Game 6. There was a report as recently as a week ago that he wasn't even running. Like, I have a hard time seeing a guy not even running one night to playing in an elimination game on the road. I have a hard time seeing that. But, and plus, you don't, not going to curse on the show, you don't blank with Achilles. You do not screw with those ever, 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 ever. Kevin Durant did it. Kobe Bryant did it. And you saw how it resulted for them. Like, you do not. This is not Giannis. Whether you stay in Milwaukee, which I think Giannis asks out, but nonetheless, don't mess with that thing. Do not come back unless you are 1,000% ready to go, man. You do not mess with Achilles at all. But anyways, transitioning though, Doc Rivers, real quick, what I was going to say about Doc is, Doc to me is great when there's no expectations. Like, everybody, myself included, thought the Pacers were going to win last night, especially once Bucks certainly had a puncher's chance with Dame healthy. When Dame went down along with Giannis, it's like, oh, this series is a wrap. But you think about the 2019 series. Yeah, 2019 when he's coaching the Clippers, they're massive underdogs to the KD Warriors. The series went 6 games. I mean, there's one game I remember vividly. I literally turned the game off in the third quarter because I thought it was over as a Warriors fan. Clippers come back from down 32 points to the Warriors. They win Game 5 at Oracle. So Doc's good when the expectations are low and he has a bunch of overachievers. If Chris Middleton's your best player, you're not going that far. But in that regard, he's good. But as far as when the expectations are high, when you need to close out a series, it's quite a different story with Doc Rivers. But Game 6 will be interesting. It'll be interesting. Tyrese Halliburton's going to have to step up. He had a rough Game 5 and hasn't been great the whole series, so we'll see. All right, transition now. We do a segment every Wednesday show. It's called Carving Up the Context. And essentially what I do, is look at a story, look at a game, look at a player, a coach, an executive, anything, and sort of look at a story that people have different thoughts and opinions on and trying to dissect the context surrounding it. So for Carving Up the Context, we're going to be talking about LeBron James, who just completed year 21, a heck of a year 21, I might add, and what his potential next destination might be. So is the head coach of the Colorado Buffaloes. Primetime Deion Sanders says, "Give me my theme music." On this week's edition of Carving Up the Context, we're going to be talking about LeBron James and his potential future with the LA Lakers. So after the Lakers season ended on Monday night to Denver, LeBron was asked, "Hey, will this be your last game as a Laker?" And he kind of paused. He sort of smiled a little bit and he said, "I'm not going to answer that right now," which to me is the ultimate classic leverage move. Kudos. That's what smart business people do. And LeBron James is not just a businessman. He's a businessman. As Jay-Z said, he's a billionaire. But LeBron, after all the speculation, tweeted last night, X'd, whatever the heck it's called. He tweeted last night, talking about his future. We can go and put it up right here on the screen. LeBron tweeted yesterday, "I've heard a lot of reports about my future. I said it last night and I'll say it again. I do not know yet, as I'm only thinking about spending time with my family and friends. When I know after speaking with the fam, my counsel, as well as my representation about it, then you guys will know. Until then," and then he has the shh emoji and and he says love, and he's got a crown emoji. So love king. So LeBron is basically saying, "Hey, I'm going to take a minute, take a breather." It's what every player does when the series is over, when their season's over. Spend time with family, loved ones, the whole bit. So that's obviously perfectly normal. Talked about this coming into the Denver series, talked about it as it wore on, and certainly talking about it staying now that the Lakers are done. That I don't see, other than playing with the Sun, which interestingly enough, LeBron certainly didn't shoot it down, but when asked about playing with the Sun, one of the things he mentioned in his quote was, "I haven't thought about that lately." So that could be, hey, I've just been focused on the series. It's the only thing I've really been in tune with, is trying to beat the Denver Nuggets. Maybe. But LeBron, who has always been vocal, "I want to play with Bronny. In recent months, he hasn't been as vocal about it. That could be because he's like, "Hey, Bronny isn't ready for the NBA just yet. I don't know. I'm not a scout. We'll see how that plays out if he stays in college, if he stays in the NBA draft." It could be because, and I get this. If Bronny says, "Dad, I want to create my own path." Like, there's nothing wrong with the Ken Griffey situation, Ken Griffey Sr., Ken Griffey Jr. that we saw obviously decades ago in Major League Baseball, but I want to kind of create my own path. Not that I don't love you at blah, blah, blah. And I think LeBron would understand that. I think he would. LeBron, I think, once said years ago, he kind of regretted naming him Bronny. Obviously LeBron James Jr. He kind of regretted that because of the expectations that would put on him. And so that could be in this scenario as well. So let's just say LeBron is not hell-bent on playing with his son, because the son may not even be in the NBA next year. At this point, there's no point for LeBron James to play in the National Basketball Association outside of winning championships. I've been on this. He's past his award-winning days as far as winning MVPs. He's still great. He averaged 25, 8, and 7 on, I think it was 7 and 7, 8 and 7 on 40% shooting splits. He shot 40% from three, 41% to be exact, I believe. He's past the award-winning days. His legacy is basically set. Sure, he's chasing Jordan in the eyes of some. For some closed-minded people, he'll never pass Jordan. That's beside the point. He's won his championships, or not won his championships. He's got his MVPs. God knows he's gotten his money. His brand is going to be, he's set for the rest of his life and the rest of the lives of future generations of James men and women. At this point, the only reason to stay is to win championships. And as we sit here today, and we got to see the offseason plays out, draft doesn't have as much impact in the NBA, obviously really near the impact that it does in the NFL. As currently constructed, folks, we've literally seen it the last two postseasons. He can't win a championship with the Lakers. That's not to say the Lakers aren't good. That's not to say this is like the end of his time, both times in Cleveland, where the roster was garbage and he took it deep into the playoffs. 2018 is one of the greatest postseason runs I've ever seen by a player in my life. That team was awful, and he took them to the finals. You have Anthony Davis. You'll probably have a new coach, but will he be a great coach? We'll see. Phil Handy. I like Phil Handy a lot. Think he'd be better than Darvin Ham, but we'll see. Nice pieces, but let's just put it this way. LeBron James will have suitors if he's on the open market, which reportedly he is going to opt out of the last year of his contract and for the first time since 2018 become an unrestricted free agent. To me, I've been on this for weeks, and I maintain it today. There are 3 basketball teams that would provide LeBron James a better opportunity to win a championship today, and, well, not today, the season's over, next season, than the Lakers do. The first team, and to me, the least, we'll go least likely to most likely. The least likely of these 3 is a team he used to play for, had a ton of success with. Frankly, I don't think he should have left this team, is the Miami Heat. Here's the reasons. They have the best head coach in basketball. Point blank. Eric Spoelstra is the single best basketball coach in the NBA. He has a history with the organization. He won 2 MVPs. He won 2 championships, 2 finals MVPs, went to the finals every single year he's in Miami, was far and away the best player in the world. And the Miami Heat, without LeBron James, because they're a well-run franchise, since 2020. Think about this, folks. The Miami Heat have been the second most successful team in the Eastern Conference since 2020, and it's not debatable. Well, Boston's been to 1 finals, Miami's been to 2, and Miami has beaten Boston twice to get to their 2 finals. The only team that's been more, since 2020, the only team that's been objectively more successful than the Miami Heat is the Milwaukee Bucks, because they won a championship. 2020, Heat lost the finals. 21, Heat won the final. I'm sorry. 2021, the Bucks won the finals. 2022, the Warriors beat the Celtics in the NBA Finals. Last year, Heat, who got to the finals again, lost to Denver. So with a good roster, but mostly amazing coaching, great playoff performances by Jimmy and Bam, that's how they've had the bulk of their success. You're telling me LeBron James, that team with Jimmy, Bam, some of the young guys they got, Jaime Jaquez, Nikola Jovic. Again, this is names that most NBA fans may not know, but people who watch the Miami Heat do. Good, young, ascending players. You're telling me LeBron couldn't take that team to the finals and potentially win a championship? That's number 1 for the Miami Heat. The least likely of these 3, I think, is the Miami Heat. In between the 2, sandwiched between the 2, to me, is my Golden State Warriors, and here's why. They have a Hall of Fame head coach. The reason that matters is, well, obviously, Kerr to me is one of the 10, 15 best head coaches of all time, but also he's Darvin Ham. You think going from Darvin Ham to Steve Kerr, which he's going to be doing this summer at the Olympics for Team USA, because Steve Kerr's the head coach of that basketball team. You're telling me that going from Darvin Ham to Steve Kerr isn't a massive, massive upgrade. He also, for the very first time in his career, LeBron James, in his pursuit of winning championships, would be the second best player. With all due respect to the king, the GOAT, in my opinion, Steph currently is a better basketball player than LeBron James today. And finally, he has relationships with the players. Him and Steph, they put their 2016-ish, 2017-ish beef aside. I would not call them friends, but they're very friendly with each other. Like, they're always, man, what's up, dog? How you doing? You know, they always, every time they play, it's always a really cool embrace after the game. They're smiling. It's a cool moment between 2 all-time legends who give their all and have given their all to the game of basketball and been the last 2 faces of the NBA. We know he's very close with Draymond Green because of their ties with Clutch Sports. Again, he's going to be playing for Steve Kerr this summer. And I'm sorry. The Golden State Warriors, the Lakers, better opportunity to win than Golden State. Really, they won 1 more game than Golden State, and the Warriors took 3 out of 4 games off the Lakers this season because they match up better, and they're better coached, and they have the best player in those matchups in Steph. You're telling me a team with Steph Curry, LeBron James isn't going to have a monster go deep into the playoffs type of season? Certainly more so than the Lakers would, and they match up better with the Denver Nuggets than, if they have LeBron, than the Lakers do. Finally, and to me, this feels like the most likely, and to me, listen, I am praying he goes to my Warriors, but this, as much as it hurts, as much as these fans get on my last nerves, would be the best fit. The Philadelphia 76ers. They have a championship coach. They have a superstar big man similar to what he's used to with AD, and they play in a weak conference. Just like the Heat, obviously, but they play in a weak conference. Again, you look at the East today. I said coming into the postseason, and I certainly maintain it today, the Celtics should go into the Eastern Conference Finals with no more than 2 playoff losses. No more. They need to take care of the Heat tonight, gentlemen sweep that series. They should gentlemen sweep either the Cavs or the Magic, which I think the Magic are still going to win that series. They should gentlemen sweep the Cavs or Magic. East is very weak. If the Knicks, which to me are the second best team out East, What would the Knicks be out west? The fourth best team at best? At best in the Western Conference. So right now, as we see today, the East is pretty darn weak. He goes to Philly. Again, part of the reason the fit would work so well is that Embiid wears down at the end of seasons, comes up very small at the end of fourth quarters. Well, LeBron James, contrary to what Skip Bayless might try and tell you, is literally the anti-Embiid in the sense that he always comes up big in the fourth quarter of games. Again, outside of Anthony Edwards, best fourth quarter player this playoffs thus far, as it pertains to scoring, the whole bit. Efficiency, most playoff buzzer beaters all time. That would be a good fit as well. And in all three of these destinations, he is a way better coach than he has now. And by the way, even if the Lakers bring in a Phil Handy, a Sam Cassell, somebody like that. Now, Monty Williams won't have it. I think Monty is a little bit better than Nick Nurse. He's not better, though, than Steve Kerr, or he's certainly not better than Spo, because nobody's better than Spo. So those three destinations, carving up the context. LeBron, there's no point in LeBron James playing, especially at the level that he is playing right now. Still averaging 25 a game on crazy efficient shooting, including from three. What's the point in waste your career? Yeah, well, he loves Los Angeles. He lived in Los Angeles. He had a place in LA when he was in Cleveland, which, I mean, listen, who wouldn't live in LA over Cleveland? But nonetheless, he already had a place in LA. You're telling me he can't play a year in Golden State, Philly, or Miami, or 2 years, come back, live the rest of his days in beautiful Los Angeles, California, at his palatial estate? Of course he can. For the record, if he goes to Golden State, this is part of my pushes and my recruiting pitch as a Warriors fan, he's a short flight away from LA. So he's doesn't have to move far from his family. Obviously, they can move with him, but if they want to go with that scenario, Chris Paul did that years ago when he was with the Rockets, I think. You can do that. All right, I'm sorry, when he was with Chris Paul's with the Suns. But my bad, I messed up that story. So, carving up the context is LeBron, only point in you playing at this point, the MVP days are past you. You've made your money. You're going to make a lot more money. It's titles. And the Lakers, guys, they've lost 8 of their last 9 playoff games to the Denver Nuggets. They're not beating the Nuggets. The Golden State Warriors given a better opportunity to do that. Or if you want to avoid the Nuggets entirely until the finals, go to the Heat or go to the Sixers. LeBron James, carving up the context is LeBron should leave the LA Lakers. Let's see. LeBron reported by who? I'm a Lakers fan. I'd love to hear who reported this. What are you talking about? Did I mention something earlier about reports? And also Barry says too. Barry, who's a big Lakers fan. LeBron isn't leaving LA, so this won't age well. Again, I don't think, honest to God, I don't think LeBron wants to leave LA. Who wouldn't when your business is booming in Southern California? But what's the merit of him staying? They can't be Denver. They can't. Opting out. No, let me pull it up because I literally saw this on social media. I believe it was from Legion Hoops, who sourced somebody else. Let me pull this up because it was reported just the other day. Let's see what we got here. Looking through their Twitter again, we are live searching. This is why I love Barry Grant Jr. He's a guy. He loves the Lakers, holds people accountable, and I freaking love that. Okay, let's see, because I swear to y'all, I saw it on social media the other day after the Lakers loss. Okay, Brian Windhorst. That's about as good of a source as you can possibly have. LeBron says, I think LeBron intends to opt out of his contract and become a free agent for the first time since 2018. He said that on Get Up. Again, that's from Wendy. And Wendy's about as good of a source. Now he said nothing confirmed. Barry says nothing confirmed on any fronts yet. Listen, nothing's been confirmed. Nothing's official. It's not Woj or Shams. But again, Wendy's, we got the what about Royce O'Neal? The all-time great meme. Again, I'm not saying he will leave LA. I'm saying if the point is to win championships, that team doesn't provide it. If you get Monty Williams, I may feel a little differently. But hey, Trae Young, who's a defensive liability, is oftentimes injured, who's an on-ball player with LeBron. It's part of the reason he fit in Golden State, because Steph can easily play off-ball. I don't know. It just... Or, because everybody's saying, it's the end of the era. It's the end of the Steph, LeBron, KD era. Or really the LeBron, Steph, KD era. Or they could just team up in Golden State. You'll see. You can move on from Draymond, move on from Clay. CP3's contract's off the books anyway. Just get LeBron. Steph's already there. He's locked in for the next couple of years. Get LeBron, get KD. I'm just saying. It's a pipe dream. It's probably never going to happen, but it's you gotta throw it out there. It's worth considering. All right, let's see. We got Bryson's best 10. So Bryson's best, and by the way, I should mention all stats provided by our friends at StatMuse, all graphics provided by my man Alfred Parsard Jr., who did a great job, by the way, on those jersey swaps, including the Heat one, which he didn't have to do the Heat one because LeBron's already played for the Heat, so you could just put a LeBron James Miami Heat picture up. All right, so during the NFL season, every Wednesday, or in general, I introduced it during the NFL season, this past one. I do Bryson's best 10. I rate my top 10 blank. 2 weeks ago was a very painful one. I had to do the top 10 moments of the Warriors dynasty, and that hurt. Which, again, can I not rephrase, but reaffirm? The Warriors dynasty is over as currently constructed. If Steph, Clay, Draymond are your three best players, then it's over. That said, Joe Lacob, that man did not appreciate going out in the play-in tournament. If there's anything I know about him, he's going to be aggressive. A move is coming down the pipeline, Dub Nation. Just wait. But that was a painful one, though. This one's not. This is going to be a fun one. So throughout the NFL season, I do my top 10 players going to each week of the season. And throughout the offseason, I do the same. So I'll probably do a Bryson's best 10 going into training camp, certainly obviously coming into the NFL season, but I did one right after the Super Bowl, right after the big signings and free agency, and now we have even more clarity because the draft is over. The draft is officially over. Of course, you're having some undrafted free agent signing, but as of right now, we don't anticipate any of those guys, although they probably will. Some of them will make any impact. So Bryson's best 10, my top 10 players in the National Football League after the NFL draft. Let's go and get our back. We will start with the 10th best team in the National Football League after the NFL draft. I freaking hate to say it, but it's true. It's the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are the 10th best team in the National Football League, and here's why. So Philly couldn't have gotten off to a better start last year. Again, they were winning a lot of close games, but they're 10-1, best record in the sport. Jalen Hurts was, and I said wrongly at the time, that aged pretty well, wrongly the MVP frontrunner over Dak Prescott, but Philly came crashing down, went 1-6 in their last 7 games, got destroyed by Tampa Bay in their playoff loss in the wild card round down in Florida. This offseason, it's been a complete, sort of 180, not 180, but adding some free agents, being aggressive in the draft. Philly had a really, really good draft. Howie Roseman did it again. You obviously extend A.J. Brown, which you should. You extend Devontae Smith, which you should. You fire your defensive coordinator, which you should have. You brought in Vic Fangio. But the problem was they brought in Kellen Moore to be their offensive coordinator, which if Dak Prescott and Justin Herbert can tell you anything, the guy isn't very good. So that to me is the thing really holding me back. But they had Saquon Barkley. The loss of Jason Kelce is a massive one for them. Now the brotherly shove is in essence pretty much dead. I thought they should have fired Nick Sirianni. There's some moves the Philadelphia Eagles should have made that I would have ascended them higher on this list, but the roster's still really good. I'm still a Jalen Hurts believer. I just think he's going to get potentially exposed again because his offensive coordinator isn't good, and he made 2 awesome quarterbacks in Dak and Herbert at times look pedestrian. So, Philadelphia Eagles, the 10th best team in the National Football League after the draft. At number 9, I'm bullish, not as a Super Bowl contender, but as a playoff team and a team that could win a playoff game. I'm really bullish on this team, the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers are the 9th best team in the National Football League, and here is why. Jim Harbaugh is already making an impact. So, listen, everybody knows I'm a Jim Harbaugh guy. Everywhere he goes, college, NFL, and this is almost unprecedented. He fixes the situations. He goes to bad situations, fixes it almost immediately, okay? So he goes to the Chargers. They move on from Keenan Allen. They move on from Mike Williams. One's injury prone, one's getting up there in age, although I think Keenan will be good with the Bears. Okay, so a little bit of a rebuild, sort of, kinda. You do have Justin Herbert, obviously, who's one of the 10 best QBs in the league. So what do? You say, you know what? This is our guy. We are going to get him as much protection as we can. We already had Rashawn Slater, who's an awesome tackle. We are going to get another great tackle, another awesome player, Joe Alt, 6'9", well over 300 pounds, absolute unit at tackle. They'll put him left. My guess is they'll probably put him on the left side of the O-line move. Obviously put Slater on the right side. So you got your offensive line fixed. You add Ladd McConkey. You add Brendan Rice, who I thought was a steal in the 7th round. You add 2 guys who I think are going to be good players in the NFL. And in between defense, linebacker, corner, you were aggressive in that regard. So the holes the Chargers needed to fill, we'll see if the players pan out, but I think they will. We often see, Pete Carroll did this in Seattle, where if you've recruited guys, you know them, you coached against them, you know them better than most NFL coaches, so you have a real good look into how successful they're capable of being at the next level. Jim Harbaugh has that advantage this year, and the next couple of years, he's taken advantage of that window, and I've been a Justin Herbert fan since his days at Oregon. I love the guy. So I think the Chargers are the 9th best team in the National Football League. At number 8, I can't figure out what to do with this team, the Cincinnati Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals are the 8th best team in the National Football League, and here's why. I think Joe Burrow, when healthy, is the 2nd best quarterback in football to Patrick Mahomes. He's the only quarterback currently playing to beat Mahomes in a playoff game. His accuracy, his decision-making is off the charts, but is the injury history. The good news is for Cincinnati, their defense is really good, but it could lose Trey Hendrickson, and it also could lose T. Higgins. My guess is Higgins probably stays, plays out the franchise tag this year, leaves next year in free agency. That's my guess. They'll extend Jamar Chase, obviously. To the Bengals' credit, they got the kid Mims out of Georgia. They're trying to address the O-line, do whatever they can to protect Joe Burrow. They did lose their offensive coordinator, but to me, when you have an all-time great quarterback, which Burrow's not that, but certainly a great quarterback currently playing, offensive coordinators tend to be, to go on to be head coaches, tend to be to a degree, not irrelevant, but not as bad. I mean, Adam Gase was Peyton Manning's OC in Denver. Adam Gase was a terrible head coach. Peyton went on to have plenty of success without him. So I don't put too much stock into that when a good OC leaves, okay? Cincinnati has a good defense. Lou Moreno's a great defensive coordinator. That's a brutal division in the AFC North. Again, if Joe Burrow is healthy, I believe they're a Super Bowl contender. If not, with all due respect to Jake Browning, it could be a problem. So Cincinnati Bengals, to me, the 8th best team in the National Football League. At number 7, here you go, Chloe. The Green Bay Packers. The Packers are the 7th best team in the National Football League, and here's why. So I think Green Bay has about a 2-year window where they need to be all in. Again, to use the term of an owner who doesn't know what he's doing, all in. Because they have Jordan Love, who's cheap. They have receivers, Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson. They got other guys. They got, A.J. Dillon. They added Josh Jacobs in free agency. If there's anything the Green Bay Packers do is develop offensive lines. They're young players. Help them win down the stretch of last season. Barely sneak in the playoffs to mop the Cowboys and to come about as close as you can come to knocking off, to me, what was last year the best roster in football, the San Francisco 49ers. Green Bay, until Jordan Love kind of fell apart in the second half of that game, had an excellent season and a lot of excellent pieces to build around. If Jordan Love is the Jordan Love next season that we saw in the last 10 games, as opposed to the first 7 or 8, I think the Green Bay Packers have themselves a franchise quarterback on their hands and a lot of young, cheap pieces around them that have shown themselves to be very, very effective. Listen, NFC North's a brutal division. I think it's the second best division in football after the AFC North. Man, the pieces they've got in Green Bay, running game, O-line, weapons everywhere. Jordan Love ascending. I don't love their defense. We'll see if it's able to step it up to a degree like it was at the end of last season. That, to me, could be their Achilles heel. But their offense, watch out. Green Bay could be really explosive this year. Much as I hate to say it, much as my sister will get all over me because she's like, oh, the Steelers aren't in the top 10. The Packers are the 7th best team in the National Football League. At number 6, a team I really like coming into this season, the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans, the 6th best team in the National Football League, and here is why. So C.J. Stroud had one of the better rookie seasons we've ever seen. You can put it up there with Herbert in 2020, Dak in 2016. You could look at maybe even Luck in 2012. Plenty of guys. Big Ben in 2004 was really good. Any rookie quarterback season, you could stack his up next to him, and you could argue his was the best. You talk about a guy who was second best, I believe, in the NFL in terms of touchdown to interception ratio. You look at a guy who has a cannon for an arm, deadly accurate, amazing decision maker, great leadership qualities. Listen, the Texans were a joke. They were a bona fide joke for most of their brief existence since their inception in 2002. But you add a guy of this caliber, a guy with this sort of clutch gene, good accuracy, mobility, all of it, and now you have Tank Dell, which, by the way, prayers for Tank Dell, has survived a really scary situation recently. But you got Tank Dell, Nico Collins, you add Joe Mixon, you add Stephon Diggs, you have a loaded receiving core, you have an excellent running game now. The O-line, I watched a lot of Texans football last year, just got better and better and better as the season progressed. On the defensive side, which N'Keal Ryan's ace is in, You got Will Anderson, Defensive Rookie of the Year. You got all these really good corners. Stingley's an excellent corner. Pieces everywhere. Again, very similar to Green Bay, although obviously Stephon Diggs, Joe Mixon, not cheap. But, again, when you have this much cap space, you can do this. Texans are going absolutely all in for this year and next year, taking advantage of a superstar quarterback on a rookie deal. That is what you should do. That's what smart organizations do. And let's be real. Nick Caserio, Texans are a smart organization now. They are the 6th best team in the National Football League. At number 5, as much as I hate them as a Steelers fan, I respect the heck out of how they do business. The 5th best team in the National Football League is the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are the 5th best team in the National Football League, and here is why. So, the Ravens did lose some pieces. Odell Beckham Jr. probably gone. Obviously, the big loss was Will McDonald going on to be the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks. Will McDonald did an awesome job at that defense last year. Patrick Queen coming to join the Pittsburgh Steelers, which I loved. But they've still got the pieces. They still have Roquan Smith. They still have, on the offensive side of the ball, I don't know, a 2-time league MVP and a guy I believe to be the 3rd best quarterback in football in Lamar Action Jackson. You got Zay Flowers coming off a really impressive rookie season. Expect him now with OBJ gone to get even more shine. If there's any team that knows how to run the football effectively, it is the Baltimore Ravens. Absent the AFC Championship game, if there's any guy that knows how to put together a good game plan, it's John Harbaugh. Todd Monken, as I predicted coming into last year, was going to do wonders for Lamar Jackson. That's now year 2 in a system that caters to the strengths that Lamar has, and he puts on display on the football field every Sunday. Again, the Will McDonald loss, their defense, which was amazing last year, will be really good this year, but oftentimes defenses that put up historically great numbers don't tend to repeat it. They tend to not really come back close to repeating it, but still, I anticipate the Ravens will be productive because defenses, it's like the Steelers, it's like a lot of franchises. That's part of the Ravens' DNA. So the Baltimore Ravens, the 5th best team in the National Football League. Up next, it is the team that came, so close to hoisting the Lombardi Trophy for the first time in 3 decades. It is the San Francisco 49ers. The Niners are the 4th best team in the National Football League, and here is why. So, them firing Steve Wilks, I felt like it was a bit of a scapegoat move. I thought Steve Wilks, who had a rough playoff game, defense had a rough playoff game, that was more an effort of the players more than it was the game plan. I thought Steve Wilks had a great Super Bowl. After having a rough NFC title game, I thought he was great, put together as good of a game plan as he possibly could have. The Niners lost the Super Bowl because they're facing the 2nd greatest quarterback who ever played. His name is Patrick Mahomes. Maybe you've heard of him. Okay, you're obviously talking about a football team that has as good of a roster as anybody in the sport. You're talking about a roster that does have Debo and Brandon Ayuk. The reason I have them at 4 is I think one of them's gone. They don't draft Ricky Pearsall out of Florida, the wide receiver out of Florida, if they think both guys are coming back or if they think somebody's gone after this season. This to me feels like all or nothing for the San Francisco 49ers. Like, expect them to potentially go after somebody in the trade deadline around Halloween, early November. Expect them to go after somebody at the deadline to try and shore up maybe a weakness of their football team. They got Talanoa Hufanga coming back next year. He missed the second half of the year last year. As good of a safety as there is in the NFL. They've got the pieces. George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Trent Williams. I still have questions about whether Brock Purdy can carry you, can be the reason you win a game. But you put him in the right situation, he can be a pretty effective quarterback. He led the NFL in passer rating, so it goes to show you that. He's a significantly better athlete, distributor, decision maker, and more clutch gene than his predecessor in San Francisco, Jimmy Garoppolo. And Kyle Shanahan, no matter what anybody tries to tell you, the guy is an offensive wizard. To me, the 2nd or 3rd best offensive coach in the league to Andy Reid. The San Francisco 49ers, it's all or nothing this year. It's Super Bowl or nothing. The 4th best team in the National Football League. But believe it or not, folks, I don't even think the Niners are the best team in their own division. It's at number 3, the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are the 3rd best team in the National Football League, and here is why. So for LA, you got Matthew Stafford, who was arguably the best quarterback in football at the second half of last season. Sean McVay, we know what he is and what he represents as an offensive play caller. You have as good of a weapons division, not weapons division, but weapons a core that you could possibly have in the NFL. You have Cooper Kupp. You have Puka Nacua, who came on the scene. You have Kyron Williams, who came on the scene. They addressed the offensive line last year in the draft and this year to a certain degree in the draft. The Los Angeles Rams are surefire good on that side. On the defensive side, listen, Aaron Donald, who to me is the 3rd greatest defensive player ever, retired. I get that. But you aced the draft. You went out and got the pass rusher out of, his name escapes me right now. You got the pass rusher out of Florida State. You got pass rushers last year. You got Byron Young out of Tennessee. Go Vols, who was really good as a rookie last year. Good defensive coaching staff. You did lose Raheem Morris to the Falcons. That will be a big loss. But I think overall, the roster construction, again, the fact that Stafford is getting up there in age, Stafford, one of the more clutch quarterbacks in the NFL as well, won the Super Bowl a few years ago. I think they're dead set right now on winning a championship. McVay may retire when Stafford retires. Les Snead, the GM, may do the same. But I love the way this team's put together. The Los Angeles Rams are the third best team in the National Football League. At number 2, I have missed doing this for so long. At number 2, it is the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions, what do we do? Not we, I'm not a Lions fan. What do the Lions do every Sunday?
Kneecap. 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 Kneecap.
What they do. It's what Dan Campbell does, okay? So they have one of the best coaching staffs in the NFL. Ben Johnson returns. They have as good, again, I think the Lions may have the best roster in the league. So Jared Goff, to me, is the 10th best quarterback in the league. Had a great year. When Jared Goff has a clean pocket, he's as accurate a passer as there is. They lock up Penei Sewell, their star tackle long-term. They lock up Amon-Ra St. Brown, the most underrated receiver in football. You obviously have a guy in Jameson Williams who, after coming off the suspension, was really, really good at the end of last season. You have a Lions defense, which was bad. It was the weakness of their football team a season ago. So what do? They address it. They go out and get the corner out of Tulane in the first round of this year's draft. They go out and address it in free agency. This is what Detroit does. You have, even a year ago, they addressed it during the draft. And the year before that, Aiden Hutchinson, Alex Anzalone, who they obviously brought in for free agency. Not Brian Burns, Brian Branch, the kid out of Alabama, who I thought had a solid rookie year, another season in that Detroit Lions system. They're well coached. They're great situationally. I think Detroit's the best team in the NFC right now. Right as of today, and my picks aren't locked in until the start of the season. Lions are probably my pick to get to next year's Super Bowl. I absolutely love how they put their roster together. Brad Holmes is arguably the best GM in the NFL right now. He's done an awesome job in the draft. I think they just hit multiple home runs in this year's draft, just like they did from 21 to 23. The Detroit Lions, fighting kneecaps still, the second best team in the National Football League, and that leaves the obvious number 1, a bit anticlimactic, but it's pretty clear. The back-to-back Super Bowl champion, Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are the best team in the NFL, and I don't really have to explain to you why. Patrick Mahomes is the second best quarterback ever. He's far and away in a league that's got as good of quarterback talent as we've seen ever. It's not even a contest with who's the best QB in the league. Travis Kelce, not restructured his deal, but got a little bit of a raise, okay, 2-year extension that will take him to the end of the 2025 season. My guess is that's probably when he retires. You got a Kansas City defense that did lose L'Jarius Sneed, but the good news is the Chiefs are very good at drafting defensive backs. They do have Trent McDuffie, who's going to turn in their number 1. Trent McDuffie was actually a lot better than L'Jarius Sneed in that Super Bowl win. You have Chris Jones, one of the premier defensive players in the sport. Really good linebackers. Steve Spagnuolo is one of the better defensive coordinators in the NFL, and Andy Reid just gets the best out of everybody. And the weakness of the Chiefs last season, we all agreed on it, was the receiving corps, right? The drops. That's what plagued them. Well, Rashee Rice, who's going to be gone for the first half of the season because he's making boneheaded decisions off the field. He'll be back mid-season. You add Hollywood Brown. Again, I'm not that high on Xavier Worthy. I'm very skeptical about drafting track stars who don't have great hands and are good, not great route runners. That said, if there's anybody in the National Football League that could make it work with this young man, it is Patrick Mahomes and it is Andy Reid, the best quarterback in the league, best coach, and best offensive coach in the National Football League. Love what the Kansas City Chiefs have done this offseason. They put themselves in position, who knows, maybe to go to three-peat, which would be the first time in NFL history that has ever happened. I think it's pretty obvious. The Kansas City Chiefs, the best team in the National Football League after the NFL draft. Give me a drink of water. All right, let's look at the comments. See, I got some comments here. I'll get to those in just a second. Look back over the top 10, 10-1. From 10-1, I've got the Eagles, Chargers, Bengals, Packers, Texans, Ravens, 49ers, Rams, Lions, and finally, the two-time world champion, Kansas City Chiefs. What do we got in the comments up here? See, this is Barry Grant Jr. Unit, pause. Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on. Listen, he is Joe Alta Unit. He's 6'9", over 300 pounds. The guy's a monster. What do you want me to do? Okay, he's a unit. Ain't no pause up in here. Patrick, Bryce James took a dig at Darvin. Oh, did he? Bryce James, who's LeBron's second son, who, by the way, is, I'll finish your comment, Patrick, but Bryce James is going to be better than Bron. And I think Bron is going to be good. Bryce James might be something special. Okay, obviously he's not going to be LeBron James, but I'm just telling you. Bryce James took a dig at Darvin Ham, posted an image of Arthur's hands in his pockets. Dang. Wow, that's a shot. But it's true. Like, listen, I can imagine, I may not like the Lakers. I may always pull against the Lakers, but I can imagine how frustrating it is to be a Lakers fan when teams are going on these. I mean, it happened in Game 5. Denver's going on a 15-2 run, and Darvin Ham just hands his pocket. He's kind of standing there watching. He isn't yelling at any play calls. He's like, hey, y'all figure it out. Yeah, y'all figure it out. Which at times is kind of what the Lakers basically did in some of their games. Patrick, kneecap alert. Gotta love it. We gotta love it. Listen, I was the ultimate Dan Campbell skeptic. The ultimate Dan Campbell skeptic. And by the end of year 2, when Detroit, this told me a lot about Dan Campbell. So Detroit won 3 games his first year. Like, nobody expected them to do anything. That second year, they get off to a start. I believe they were 1-6. So it was like, okay, here we go again. Detroit sucks. Let's welcome to the Super Bowl era. That's usually how it works. When Detroit got hot at the end of the year, I'm like, okay. Their offense is rolling. Their defense is playing better. Like, okay, watch out for Detroit. They go into week 18. And in NBC, they go to Lambeau Field, okay? It's this Aaron Rodgers Packers. The Packers are red hot. Red hot. Not because Aaron Rodgers, another story for another day. The Packers are red hot. Put themselves in position to make the playoffs. The Lions were also in position to make the playoffs. That's why NBC put that as the last regular season game before the playoffs began. Because if the Seattle Seahawks lost to the LA Rams in a game that was played earlier that day, then the Lions will be in the playoffs with the win in Green Bay. Well, Seattle came back. They were down, came back, beat the LA Rams, I believe, in overtime. That was Baker's last game in his brief stint with the Rams. And so Detroit goes in that game less than an hour before kickoff. And we know, listen, momentum is everything in sports, and gosh darn it, it is everything in football. Detroit knew with less than an hour before kickoff at Lambeau, with the Packers knew regardless, they win, they're in. Our season's over. We could win this game 1,000-0. Our season's over. We are not going to the playoffs. And they waltzed into Lambeau and beat Green Bay and retired Aaron Rodgers as a Packer. When I watched that, and the fact that they did the Seattle outcome of the game, the fact that the Lions, it's not like the Lions knew going into that week. It's not like they had a week to kind of compartmentalize. No, they had 45 minutes to be like, yeah, your season's over. Go play a football game with that when the other team has everything to play for, and they beat them. That told me, I'm like, this guy's, I was wrong about this guy. This is a coach right here. Not to mention his offensive staff is fantastic. Yeah, Patrick's, my bad. He says they started 1-7 in 2023. They finished 8-2. No, well, that would mean they finished 8-1, right? Yeah, because they finished 2022, right? No, I think I'm almost certain it was 1-6, and they did finish the season. That would be 8-2 down the stretch of that season because they finished 9-8, had a winning record. That's again last year's draft. It's one of the greatest takes I've ever had. I've had some bad takes on carving it up. Okay, Warriors going to the conference finals this year. Broncos winning the Super Bowl in 22. That was my bet. One of my greatest take of my career on carving it up was prior to the 2020 season. I said, well, this is Tom Brady's first. He hadn't taken a snap as a Buccaneer yet. I said the Buccaneers are going to beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. And is that not exactly what happened? That's my best take. Last year's draft, a year ago, I said Lions are going to play in the NFC Championship game. If they get the draft right, they're going to be playing in the NFC Championship game. And gosh darn it, were they not this close to winning the NFC Championship game? Love the way that organization does business. The clean house with the clown show that was going on there. They bring in a great GM in Brad Holmes, a great coach in Campbell. Campbell puts together a great staff. They ace the draft. They get free agents. I'm telling you, the Stafford, if Detroit wins a Super Bowl, the Matthew Stafford trade will go down as the most mutually beneficial trade in sports history. Because Stafford goes to the Rams. They win immediately. You're like, oh my God, the Rams fleeced the Lions, of course. If the Lions win a Super Bowl, it's like, dang, Rams got a championship, Lions got a championship. Everybody won this. It's a feel-good trade. See, Patrick has this trolling ability. He can't help himself. Broncos country, let's right. See, Patrick's really interesting. He likes to let me know about my bad takes, But when it comes to Detroit Lions, it's crickets. Patrick's my guy, though. I love him. He was really trolling me. Let me tell you something. Patrick was going at my neck when the Warriors went down the play-in tournament in devastating fashion to the Sacramento Kings. And he was tail between his legs when the Lakers lost. It was rough. It was rough. That's my guy, though. I love Patrick. All right, final segment. I know Patrick will like this one. I'm sure the rest of the audience will too. So we have 2 playoff games tonight. One tips off in just a few minutes. Got Heat Celtics. This feels like this isn't a segment I'm doing on the Celtics, but the Celtics are 13.5-point favorites. This is the classic. Boston's obviously going to win the series, but this is the classic. They literally did it a year ago. Up 3-1 at home. You're way better than the team you're playing in the first round, and you just blow it in Game 5 at home, and then you have to go on the road, win the Game 6. I'm not picking Miami. I picked the Celtics to win in 5 games, but I would not be shocked if the Heat won tonight. I really wouldn't. I dang sure would be shocked if the Heat covered. Mavs Clippers, though, huge Game 5 tonight. Game 5 in these series, 2-2. I know the stat is if a series is tied 2-2, the winner of Game 5 goes on to win like 80-something% of the time, which is like, well, yeah, duh. If you're in a position where you have to win 1 of 2 rather than 2 of 2, yes, you have a better chance of winning the series. Point being, it's in LA. Dallas on the road, this is very interesting, is a 3.5-point favorite against the Clippers. As somebody who picked the Mavs in 5, obviously that's off the table because it'll at least go to a Game 6. I don't know if I agree with that line. Now, do I trust James Harden in the playoffs? What did Bishop Bullwinkle say? Hell no. No, I don't trust him. Do I trust Russell Westbrook? Not as little as I trust Harden, but I don't trust Russ. Paul George is about the only guy I trust. Playoff P, he choked. Take 2018 and 20 off his resume. Paul George is a very good playoff player. That aside. And Ty Lue, we know the coach he is. Luka struggled offensively in this series, which is weird because he's usually owned the Clippers. And Kyrie, who's been awesome in the series, we know he's a defensive liability. Kawhi Leonard's out for this game. Kawhi Leonard's not going to play tonight. He didn't play in Game 4 when the Clippers had a 31, 32-point lead. Ended up blowing the lead, but Paul George hits a crazy shot. Clippers go on to tie the series. If I'm a Clippers player, if I'm PG, if I'm Harden, Westbrook, maybe even if I'm Ty Lue, we've played this long without Kawhi Leonard. We've played pretty well without Kawhi Leonard. This Dallas Mavericks team has been red hot down the stretch. I want Kawhi to be healthy. Don't get me wrong. I don't want the man just to be hurting. But I think we can win this series without Kawhi. We're tied 2-2. We got the home court advantage. Now, how many Clippers fans are there out there? Not many, but still, we got 2 games, 2 of the last 3 games, in theory, on our home floor in Los Angeles, not in Dallas. I feel better about our chances in that regard than I do potentially with him. Because you got to remember, too, it isn't just Kawhi's in and out of the lineup. Didn't play Game 1, played Game 2 and 3, is missing Game 4 and 5. They're just in and out of the lineup, constantly injured. And Kawhi, I've said for years, I think Kawhi has arthritic knees. Like, the guy constantly has knee issues. It's the only guy I'd love managing in the NBA, him along with Joel Embiid. If I'm Paul George, I'm the number 1 option. I'm comfortable with that, given how this team is put together. Yeah, I can go for 30 points tonight. If Harden doesn't do Harden things in the postseason, which I think he will. We are in position to take a 3-2 lead, and worst case scenario, we got a Game 7 on our home floor. Now, again, still got Dallas winning the series. I think they win tonight, win Game 6 to close the series out. Game 6 will be on what, Friday? Yeah, Friday in Dallas. I think they'd win Game 6, win the series in advance to play the Oklahoma City Thunder. That'd be a very fun series. But I'll tell you what right now. This is a very interesting situation. Very interesting situation because I think if Kawhi comes back, because Kawhi missed the last part of the regular season, was out for Game 1, in for the next 2, out for the next 2, just in and out. I think they're more comfortable playing without him right now. So I'd actually give the Clippers a worse shot if Kawhi were playing tonight, as weird as that sounds, because he's just not in rhythm. They're not really in rhythm playing with him. He's been in and out since March 31st, so there you go. I'd say he has learned too much from Barry. That's Patrick's problem. He hangs around Barry too much. He says, Steelers country. Let's weld. Mr. Let me do it. I'll do it like Russ. Mr. Unlimited. Listen, Russell's better than Pickett, Rudolph, and Trubisky, so I'll take him. 1-year deal, $1 million. It's a cheap investment. If it doesn't work, which the Steelers, I think, are going to make the playoffs. If they made the playoffs with that quarterback room, they can make it with Russell Wilson. But if it doesn't amount to a friggin' Super Bowl, which it's probably not, you go out and get Dak Prescott. Whoo! Let me tell you something right now. Dak Prescott of the Pittsburgh Steelers. First of all, he'd look good in the Steelers black uniform with the helmet and, if Dak in a Steelers uniform look good. I've seen those jersey photoshops. They work, okay? You get it with Pickens and Najee and Jalen Warren, and now you got the kid Roman Wilson out of Michigan. You got a rebuild O-line in Pittsburgh. You got a stacked defense and Mike Tomlin. Oh, Lord. Dak, I've been trying to get you out of Dallas for 3 years. But if I can add to that before we get out of here today, Dak Prescott, you are more than welcome. You are not just more than welcome. I ask you, please come to Pittsburgh. You come to Pittsburgh, Lombardi number 7 may be on its way to the Steel City. I'm just saying. 10 games with one of the worst quarterback rooms in the league, and you had a MVP caliber quarterback to that team? Oh, boy. Watch out. All right, that is all the time we have for today's show. Appreciate everybody stopping by. As always, be sure to catch Carving Up Live on Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time right here on YouTube, as well as on Twitter. Also, be sure to like, share, comment, and please take 2 seconds out of your day. Hit that big red subscribe button down there. It would help the channel grow exponentially. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. We are this close. We passed 970 a few days ago. We're that close to 1,000 subscribers. So if you have subscribed, thank you so much. Please tell everybody you know about it. All your friends, your family. Tell everybody except for your sleeping cat. You do not wake your sleeping cat. I don't care what the circumstances are. Unless the house is burning down, you do not wake him or her because they will not like it. They will not like it. But tell everybody else you know about the show. I greatly appreciate it. If you have not subscribed and you're on YouTube, hey, just takes a couple seconds. Down there, subscribe button. Hit that, and you're part of the Carving Up family. Also, just as importantly, be sure to go subscribe to the Grid Network. That is GRYD, the Grid Podcast Network, right here on YouTube, as well as any and everywhere you get your favorite podcasts, be it Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, any and everywhere you get your favorite podcasts. You can catch us on the Grid Network. Today was it was an emotional ending to a Lakers season. It really was. Atmosphere. But Lakers fans, it's okay. Cancun's great too. We've been at the Warriors. We've been in Cancun for 2 weeks. Let me tell you something. The place is gorgeous. We got the beaches. You just sit back, relax, read a book or something. I love reading books on the beach. Just chill and enjoy your off season. All right, there you go. Sorry, just last way to close out the show. All right. See you on Friday. Please stay safe out there. Please be sure to take care of your physical as well as your mental health. And please, please, please be sure to contact your local state representatives and senators to demand change for gun violence in America. Doesn't matter where you lean. Right, left, center. There's a lot. This issue impacts every single one of us each and every day, tragically, in this country. And no matter what anybody on either side of the aisle tries to gaslight you on, there's one solution to the problem. No, there is not. This is a multi-layered, multifaceted issue that needs to be solved as soon as possible. So let's do what we can. Call our lawmakers and get this thing changed in America, because it's not okay. No two ways about it. It's not. All right. I'll see you on Friday. We'll be talking Knicks, Sixers, Game 6. I cannot wait for that. We'll be talking Bucks, Pacers, but Game 6 potentially as well. Playoff predictions. By the way, it's May 3rd, which you know what that means. Cinco de Mayo's on Sunday, of course. But May the 4th, Star Wars Day, is on Saturday. I'm going to be seeing The Phantom Menace in theaters, which is going to be really cool. But we're going to have a special Star Wars segment. I don't know what it's going to be yet. We will know. You will know by Friday's show. We're going to do a special Star Wars segment for the show on Friday, so definitely stay tuned for that. Stay safe out there, y'all. God bless y'all. Peace out. Happy birthday, Mama. I love you. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.